On this Ram 1500 with the 3.6 Pentastar, P0175 means the PCM is seeing fuel system 2/1 rich. In plain language, the PCM may be pulling fuel correction back because that side of the engine appears too rich. The driver may notice a check engine light, possible drivability complaints, and if the truck has stop/start, that system can be disabled while this code is active. Broadly, this kind of rich code can involve fuel control, air handling, purge flow, exhaust restriction, engine mechanical condition, EGR influence, upstream oxygen sensor feedback, wiring connections, or in rare cases the PCM. Start with the basic system checks before getting into the code path. This monitor runs continuously when the engine is running in closed-loop fuel control, with battery voltage above 11.0 volts, barometric pressure greater than 75 kPa, ambient temperature above -7 degrees C, 20 degrees F, fuel level greater than 12%, and altitude below 2,590. 8M, 8,500 FT. The failure logic is based on fuel correction. When the sum of short-term and long-term fuel corrections is less than the calibrated rich threshold, generally 67%, with 100% as nominal, the fail timer starts to build. After 30 seconds of fail time, the diagnostic fails. The fault is also described as capable of causing emissions to exceed 1.5 times any of the standards. First, use the scan tool to read DTCs in all electronic control units, record what is present, and save the scan report and related recorded data. Then clear the DTCs, turn the ignition off for a minimum of 10.0 seconds, turn the ignition back on, and operate the vehicle under the same type of conditions that set the code. Then read DTCs again. If P0175 does not return, treat it as an intermittent condition and do not force a hard fault diagnosis. If it does return, continue with the diagnostic path. Next, look back at the recorded codes. If there are active or pending fuel or air handling system faults, handle those first. This rich fault can set from an oxygen sensor or wiring problem, but the path puts more weight on mechanical, fuel, air handling, and drivability issues before condemning the sensor. If there are no active or pending fuel or air handling faults, move on to the exhaust check. Start the engine and check for good exhaust flow at the tailpipe. Then visually inspect the exhaust system for damage that could create a restriction. If you find a restriction or damage that fits the fault, make the appropriate repair and verify the repair. If the exhaust checks out, continue to MAP sensor operation. Now check MAP sensor operation using the MAP sensor operation test. If that test finds a problem, repair what is found and verify the repair. If no problem is found, continue to the purge solenoid check. Turn the ignition off and disconnect the hoses at the purge solenoid. Using a hand vacuum pump, apply 5.0 in Hg to the engine side of the purge solenoid. The solenoid should hold vacuum for a minimum of 15 seconds. If it holds vacuum, reconnect the vacuum hoses before continuing and go to fuel delivery testing. If it does not hold vacuum, first verify good pentaterminal contact at the purge solenoid and PCM connectors. If the connectors check good, replace the purge solenoid, then verify the repair. Next, check the fuel delivery system using the fuel delivery system test. If that test finds a problem, make the appropriate repair and verify the repair. If fuel delivery checks out, move into engine mechanical checks. Now look for engine mechanical or fuel-related conditions that could make the PCM see a rich condition. Make sure the air induction system is not restricted, valve timing is within specification, compression is within specification, and the fuel is not contaminated. If an injector is suspected of leaking or having an abnormal spray pattern, remove the fuel rail with the injectors intact. Energize the fuel pump to maintain rail pressure. Check for leakage before actuating the suspect injector. Then actuate the suspect injector or injectors with the scan tool and compare the spray pattern to the others. If you find a mechanical or injector-related problem, repair it and verify the repair. If no problem is found, continue to the EGR check. For the EGR check, turn the ignition off and block EGR flow to the engine. Turn the ignition on, monitor the short-term adaptive reading, start the engine, let it idle, and monitor the short-term adaptive for up to 5 minutes. If the short-term adaptive increases with EGR flow blocked, replace the EGR valve and verify the repair. If it does not increase, move on to the upstream oxygen sensor wiring check. Next, check the bank 2 upstream oxygen sensor wiring. Disconnect the bank 2 upstream oxygen sensor connector and the PCM-C2 connector. Do not probe the PCM harness connectors directly. If a PCM terminal has to be accessed, use the GPEC Diagnostic 10436 adapter. Check the upstream oxygen sensor circuits between the oxygen sensor connector and PCM-C2 for a short to ground, and for an open or high resistance. If you find a wiring problem, repair it and verify the repair. If the wiring checks good, continue to the sensor retest step. At this point in the path, replace the bank 2 upstream oxygen sensor, reconnect the oxygen sensor and PCM connectors, turn the ignition on, clear the DTCs, and operate the vehicle under the captured or monitor conditions that set the fault. If P0175 does not return, the upstream oxygen sensor repaired the fault, and you still finish with repair verification. If P0175 does return, continue to the harness connection inspection. Now disconnect all PCM connectors, any related inline connectors if equipped, and the related component connectors. Inspect the connectors and terminals for proper installation, damaged locks, corrosion, water intrusion, weather seal damage if equipped, bent terminals, overheated or discolored terminals, terminals pushed back into the cavity, spread terminals, and poor terminal tension. Repair any conditions found. Then reconnect the PCM connectors, inline connectors if equipped, and related component connectors, making sure everything is fully seated and locked. Clear the DTCs, operate the vehicle under the monitored and set conditions, and read DTCs again. If P0175 does not return after the harness connection work, the wiring or poor connection problem has been repaired. If it does return after this full path, replace and program the PCM, then verify the repair and confirm the code stays gone. Keep the verification step separate from the individual tests. The test finds the fault, and verification proves the fix. Takeaway: do not jump straight to the oxygen sensor on this rich code. Confirm the code, clear related fuel and air handling concerns first, then work through exhaust, map, purge, fuel delivery, mechanical condition, EGR influence, wiring, sensor, connections, and finally PCM only at the end of the path. For more diagnostic training, visit stepdiagnostics.com.